Good afternoon, friends. Today's my presentation topic is postcolonialism in Conrad's Heart of Darkness. As Edward Said mentioned that since the time of Homer, every European, in what he could say about the Orient, was a racist and imperialist and almost totally ethnocentric. So the text, Joseph Conrad's text, Heart of Darkness, is very much connected with what said is caught. This is my information. Introduction of the presentation is that the journey of Marlowe through first of all I would like to mention that Marlowe is the character present as philosophical independent minded and generally skeptical. So his philosophy of skeptical is very help to reader to read the text as post colonial study. So the journey of Marlowe through the African jungle and his search for the European Kurds. Kurds is a trader of ivory in Africa and a commander of the trading post. So who exploits the natives by imposing violence on them. So, based upon Conrad's own experience in Congo, when he learned how Europeans exploited and traded the natives for their own benefits during his own journey, regarded as an attack on imperialism and criticize immoral treatments of the European colonizer in Africa in 19th century. Furthermore, what Booker states that the book deals with issues such as imperialism, capitalism, race, and gender that were very much at the forefront of the turn of the century European mind. Conrad's ambivalent treatment of these issues is extremely representative of the way they were treated in any number of European discourse of the time. M.H. Abraham mentions about post-colonial studies that the study is the critical analysis of the history, culture, literature, and modes of discourse that are specific to the former colonies such as England, Spain, France, and other European imperial powers. These studies have focused especially on the third world countries in Africa, Asia, and Caribbean islands and South Africa. What post-colonial studies is sometimes also encompass aspect of British literature in the 18th and 19th century viewed through a perspective that reveals the ways in which the social and economic life represented in the literature was tactily underwritten by colonial exploitation. Tyson noting that colonial ideology was based on the colonizer's assumption of their own superiority. What colonizer thinks to empower their colony on the particular country. So their superiority is also to be noted, or is also worth. Reading while we read post-colonial theory. It is that contrasted with the alleged inferiority of native peoples and the original inhabitants of the lands they invaded. So the colonizers see themselves as superior to the colonized people. So post-colonial study is the study of what colonizers see themselves as superior to the colonized people. So the colonized people were considered other, different, and therefore inferior to the point of being less than fully human. Colonized people is considered less than fully human by colonizers. There is binary opposition between us and them. Who are us? That the civilized, and who are them is the other or savages. So us is colonizers, and them considered as colonized people. What is in the novella that undefinable identity of savages, or we can say colonized people, that the protagonist, the story is narrating as a frame narrative style. There is story within story. So Marlowe is the protagonist, and takes this whole story, and Marlowe cannot exactly define the natives. However, the only thing he is sure is that they suffer under the control of Europeans. He just only examined this that they are the native peoples are suffer under the controls of the Europeans, but not exactly what their persona, what they how they suffering. So besides, he is aware that the Europeans also give harm to nature in order to earn more. So in other words, Marlowe realized that Europeans destroy not only the natives but also the jungles. So here, this quotation is also makes this point. Edward said, mentioned in his Culture and Imperialism, that in Europe itself at the end of 19th century, scarcely a corner of life was untouched by the facts of empire. What are the facts? Is related the economies were hungry for overseas markets, raw materials, cheap labor, and profitable land. Defense and foreign policy establishments were more and more committed to the maintenance of vast tracts of distant territory and large number of subjugated peoples. So, what said criticizes the dominance of powerful countries over African countries in order to exploit them. Similarly, Marlowe is against European colonialism when, for instance, he falls in a moral dilemma. So at the very beginning, I talk about his philosophy about skepticism, that he instantly falls that in moral dilemma before meeting Kurt's intended. He explained this dilemma in the book as that it was a moment of triumph for the wilderness, an invading and vengeful rush, which it seems to me I would have to keep back alone for the salvation of another's. Marlowe says that it is impossible to reveal the truth that he experienced during his journey. Here he is talking about curse. That no, it is impossible. It is impossible to convey the life sensation of any given epoch of one's existence. That which makes its truth, its meaning, its subtle and penetrating essence. It is impossible. We live as we dream alone. So he is not clearly mentioned about what he experienced during his journey. So the minority of Europeans is critical about the idea of colonialism, in spite of the fact that they get benefit from it. So talking about the violence in this novel, that is indispensable part of colonialism for the Europeans, and it constantly occurs throughout the novel. While Marlowe tells that a native thought to cause, there is one incident that he in this dialogue that he talk about, that a native is kept that they thought to cause fire there, and has been beaten harshly. A nigger was being beaten nearby. They said he had caused the fire in some way. Be that as it may, he was screeching most horribly. Well, talking about imperialism, so imperialism is what Kurtz imposed imperialism on natives to gain more. However, his greediness and cruelty lead to his death. So, about Kurt's horrifying character, Marlowe stated that I had to deal with a being to which I could not appeal in the name of anything high or low. I had even like the niggers. In to invoke himself, his own excited and incredible degradation. There was nothing either above or below him. And I knew it. He had kicked himself loose of the earth. So this sentence that he had kicked himself loose of the earth is presented that Kurt's imperialism over that country. Does whatever he wants because there is nothing to restrict him. He also preferred to spend his time in the jungle and thus forgets his civilized life in order to earn more. So, in order to earn more, and Kurz is so corrupted for ivory trade that he even loses his connections with Europe. According to Homi Bhabha, colonial mimicry. So is the desire for a reformed, recognizable other, capital other, as a subject of a difference that is almost the same but not quite. Based upon these, Kurtz can be accepted as a mimic man since he turns into a savage at the end of the novel, which is one of the criticism of African people also. But Conrad criticized the cruel treatment against the native and imperialism through Kurtz, that Kurtz has led a horrible life due to his passion for ivory trade. So his passion leads him towards death, and he treats the natives so violently that he regrets what he has done and cries twice. The horror. These are the last words while Kurtz was died. These words reflect his feeling of remorse, despite the fact that he writes exterminates all the brutes. Moore expressed that Conrad hated imperialism in Central Africa because of its savageness, selfishness, and devastation. Kurt's final words, the horror, are about how a civilized man can change to savagery when there is no restriction. So Kurds can be considered as corruption brought to Africa from Europe. And Marlowe supports this idea by stating that I saw him upon his mouth wide. It gave him a wildly voracous aspect, as though he had wanted to swallow all the air, all the earth, all the men before him. Talking about the conclusion, that what Booker states, that Conrad's Charlie Marlowe is it is his full name, is openly critical of much of the European activity that he observed in Africa, especially of the brutal treatment of many of Africans by their European masters. Conrad writes with English readers in mind and does not let the natives speak. So, at the beginning of the novel, Marlowe calls Africa as one of the dark places of the earth. In fact, it can be said that the real darkness is in Europe rather than Africa. Due to Europeans' mistreatment, that what Kurtz did, what Kurtz violence actions towards natives in his passionate activeness in about ivory trade. So against that, Europeans' mistreatment against the natives. So further states that both Kurtz and Marlowe refer to the darkness. The former as he is dying, and the latter as he reflects retrospectively on the meaning of Kurt's final words. So briefly, it can be easily claimed that Heart of Darkness is one of the best example of this subversion of European colonialism, because there is perhaps there is the end of Kurt's there is the end of Kurt's dying scene, and this dying scene is perhaps connected with the subversion of European colonialism, since it clearly shows the brutal relationship between Europeans and the natives. These are my citations. Thank you.